Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. The sheer level of copium is just incredible. No matter what happens, Trump can never win, huh? Even when Trump is winning, he's not really winning. There's some sort of argument or there's some sort of media campaign to try to spin the opposing narrative. I mean, come on, we all watched the GOP debate. There was clearly a popular conclusion. I wouldn't say that that conclusion was unanimous, but it was pretty clear cut. Donald Trump pretty much seized the day. Ron DeSantis fell flat on his face, and Vivek Ramaswamy, who feels almost like an extension of Trumpism, outshined Ron DeSantis on the debate stage itself. That's the conclusion I came to. It's the conclusion that most independent, conservative-minded people on YouTube came to. All the honest data suggests that that's pretty much what happened, and even CNN's own focus group basically confirmed it. But no, that can't be allowed. Rupert Murdoch and other similar elitist cabal members can't allow that to be the official narrative now, can they? Immediately, Rupert Murdoch mobilizes the New York Post to write a Ron DeSantis puff piece. Ron DeSantis won the debate. Fair and square, clear cut. Give me a break. Then the next day, Fox News does a focus group, and the entire focus group, near unanimously, was on the Ron DeSantis train. Give me a break. The mainstream media is trying desperately to craft a narrative rather than let things play out naturally, and it's just so incredibly obvious. It's also incredibly dishonest. I want to show you guys exactly what I mean by that, and I also want to tackle the narrative itself, give you guys my 2 cents, get into the data, get into the facts, most importantly, and of course with a little pinch of Democrat hypocrisy and Democrat lunacy, we got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so nobody finds this just slightly odd?
So you came in undecided with the maybe toward Nikki Haley, and you're all about Vivek now.
I was all about Vivek, but you know what? After watching the debate, I do have to agree with some other members on the panel. I think the strongest performer in terms of who will do well in the general election, who will do well with the most Republicans, is actually Ron DeSantis.
I will tell you, I think everybody on that stage did a great job.
Okay.
Governor Burgum did a phenomenal job. I really liked how he illustrated and focused on policy regarding foreign policy with China, Russia. Christie even came across really good, except when he started going back to these schoolyard bully antics. Not a fan of that. Mike Pence, again, phenomenal statesman. But at the end of the day, I looked at 2 people. I'm still more leaning toward Ramaswamy. I like what he had to say. But DeSantis, really, when you looked at what he had to do last night, DeSantis didn't have to win. He just needed to survive the debate. But he came across as charismatic. He came across a strong character, projected strength and confidence. And to me, that was a big takeaway.
Was there anybody on this stage that last night that you think can catch President Trump's lead?
All right, in the back.
Kevin, what do you think?
I think Ron DeSantis still. I think he's leading in the polls. I just think he's the only one with the experience and like the recent exposure that he's gotten over in the last couple of years. So I think he's really the only one. He's just got the experience. And really, I think he's got similar Trump-isms, I think people would describe him as.
Okay.
The way that he acts. And so I think a lot of people would think about voting for him over Trump.
Okay. Now, do you guys agree with that, or is there someone else who you believe fits that question?
No, I agree. Like I said yesterday, I think he had to present himself as a viable alternative to Donald Trump, and I think he was able to do that.
DeSantis, again, he gave me, I'm all about action plans. That's what I said yesterday. And he presented action plans on how he would solve some issues. And he has already done some.
Can Ron DeSantis win in Wisconsin in 2024?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe he can.
Yes. Yes.
Every single individual on that Fox News focus group panel ended the debate with Ron DeSantis as their guy. Only one of them ending with, I liked Ramaswamy, but I also like Ron DeSantis. They're pretty much equal to me. What am I watching? You know, these focus groups, for the most part, are supposed to be a representation of the actual sentiment out there, but obviously there's some sort of media manipulation here. Ron DeSantis, the guy who, in most polls, is polling sub 20% these days, all of a sudden out of this group of 9 Republican voters, has 100% support. I mean, give me a break. Obviously what they're trying to do is promote a narrative. They want to stop Trump so frickin' badly, they're willing to lie, they're willing to obviously manipulate the data, and it's also glaringly obvious how dishonest they really are. Here's another piece promoting a similar idea from Mediaite. New poll suggests that Donald Trump's lead is slipping after skipping GOP primary debate while some rivals gain ground. A new Emerson College polling survey of GOP primary voters after last week's debate in Milwaukee shows the former president with 50% of the vote. This is a 6-point drop from 56. Oh no, what is Trump expected to do? Down 6% in one poll while he's still up, 40 points? Ron DeSantis had 12 points instead of 10. Trump's seriously at risk here, folks. That's the way they're trying to present this idea. And most of the polling data that I've seen, the copium polling data that I've seen, suggesting Ron DeSantis sees the night, is laughable considering that polling data is among people who watched the debates. Well, most Trump voters didn't watch the debates. The ratings came out for the primetime event at roughly 12 million viewers. I think that's more than 10 million viewers less than Donald Trump's debut in the Fox News primary debate back in 2016. So basically, Trump supporters were boycotting the debates. They weren't interested. They were instead watching the Tucker Donald Trump interview. You mean to tell me that that large portion of Trump supporters was ignored, omitted from the polling results? And now you're telling me that this is significant data suggesting that Ron DeSantis won? Give me a break. It's nothing but copium and clear manipulation. Here are the facts. That same Emerson poll showing that Donald Trump is now less popular also shows Donald Trump beating Joe Biden in a head-to-head matchup after the debates. We have two polls on the Real Clear Politics average that were conducted post-debate. Emerson and the New York Post, both of them, all of a sudden showing a massive shift towards Donald Trump and a support decline for Joe Biden. Yet the mainstream media doesn't want you to know that that exists. They don't want you to know. They would rather report on his 6% drop in the primary, even though he's still up 40, than see this clear polling shift. Not to mention there's a couple other polls showing similar results which just aren't on the RCP average. Absolute copium. They also definitely don't want you to see this, a 30% decline in support among black voters for Joe Biden. We covered that the other day, and they certainly don't want you to see this, Trump raising $7.1 million after his Georgia booking and mugshot. The former president raised $4.18 million on Friday alone, the single highest 24-hour period of his campaign to date. All small dollar donations, by the way. Meanwhile, all these other candidates are supported by big donor bucks, super PAC puppets, as Vivek stated the other night during his performance on the debate stage. It's nothing but copium and, of course, manipulation. They can't handle it. That their election interference tactics aren't working, and so they're trying to write the narrative rather than simply reporting on the truth. Here's a moment from CNN that I think will help me make that point.
Joining us now is CNN political commentator and host of PBS Firing Line, Margaret Hoover, and John Avlon, and senior political analyst here at CNN, and the author of Lincoln and the Fight for Peace. Margaret, having your mugshot taken is supposed to be a bad thing, right?
Depends who you ask, doesn't it? Look, it is definitively a bad thing, Jim. That's yes. Sorry to be cheeky about it, but sometimes we just have to do that to make ourselves feel better at night. The truth is, it depends who you ask. If you're a self-identified MAGA Republican primary voter in a red state, you're more likely to give money to Donald Trump when you see that mugshot because you feel that he is your guy and he is being vilified by the system, by a politicized Department of Justice and the like. If you are a Democrat who primaries in the Republican primary in New Hampshire, you're probably more likely to primary for a Republican who's not Donald Trump and help prevent Donald Trump from getting the Republican nomination.
Or an independent.
Or an independent, right? The point is, Jim, it depends where you are. Does this help if you're Donald Trump in a closed Republican primary? It helps him. But if you're Donald Trump in an open primary, New Hampshire, it doesn't help him.
That is a good point. And John, I mean, Trump can brag all he wants about his poll numbers in the GOP and his fundraising numbers. This is not going to help at all in a general election. How does a mugshot ever help in a general election?
I don't think there's any case of it doing so, but it helps to remind ourselves of that. Look, obviously this is a primary season, but it's about winning a general election. And Donald Trump's poll numbers are already in the cellar among independent voters. I mean, 2/3 of them say they don't want to see him be elected president. So when Nikki Haley, I think, stood out in the last presidential debate by saying that we got to face the fact that Donald Trump's one of the least popular politicians in America, she's right. when it comes to the overall American electorate. But the problem, again, is polarization. It's hyperpartisanship. It's negative partisanship. So there was an interesting article in The Atlantic showing that these polls might be slightly overstating how much he benefits. So a lot of Republicans want to kick back at people who criticize Donald Trump. But do they really think it makes him a better general election candidate? I got my doubts.
Yeah, they might say one thing to the pollster and then go into the voting booth and say, maybe the mugshot, yeah, that clinches it for me. No, I'm not going to do this.
Wow, just genius political analysis there. If anything, it pretty much proves our theory correct. This CNN clown essentially laid out the strategy, said the quiet part out loud, that the Trump mugshot is clearly a political weapon, a political tool to try to scare people at the polls from casting their ballot for Donald Trump. Yeah, we get it. And they're simply coping because the data suggests that it isn't working. Well, if that's not going to work, then plan B.
Fox News alert, we've just learned that the federal district judge, Tanya Chutkan, here in Washington, D.C., has set a new trial date for former President Trump's trial here in Washington. That will be March 4th, 2024. That's the federal election case. We will get more details from David Spunt throughout the course of the day, but one would expect that the former president's legal team would not be happy about it, and certainly not his political team, because March 4th is the date of the North Dakota caucus. There are a whole slew of primary states up for grabs on March 5th, from Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, California, Colorado, and more. And then a whole slew of other contests on March 12th. And so one would think that the president and his political team and his legal team may not be happy about a trial date here in Washington, March 4th, 2024. That is the breaking news.
Set Donald Trump's trial date one day ahead of Super Tuesday. Clear election interference. U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan claiming that American voters deserve an expedited trial date because the information is relevant. In other words, she really wants it to happen ahead of Super Tuesday and during the primary and in the middle of an election season because Trump must be demonized in front of the public as much as possible before heading to the polls. More confirmation this whole thing is frickin' political. Copium, copium, copium. But of course, the real story, the real narrative is election interference. I'm just sitting here looking at the information that I have, hoping that most people are going to interpret it similarly. And I'm hoping that their maniacal little plan here is going to backfire and backfire big, as it seems it might already be. That's the polling update. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. You know we'd love to have you here. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you on the next one.